Do you ever wonder if we're losing depth in this world? Why all the cars are becoming these monotone colors, black, grey, white, dark red, dark blue, or why all the logos are getting rid of the old designs and choosing for something much more simpler and much more boring instead? In short, do you just feel like society is losing its mysticism, is losing its ambition to create things that are actually beautiful? Well, you're not alone. Many other people have noticed this shift. Many other people have raised concerns for this shift. And today, I just wanted to talk a bit about these changes that are happening, how our culture has transformed from a culture that aspired to achieve and to make great things into a culture that is transformed in making practical things, easy things, and in short, simple things. And I'm gonna tell you why. Our society is shifting into something that is a lot less challenging, a lot more simple, and overall just a society that is not at all concerned with trying to challenge yourself. And today I just wanted to talk about a couple of these things, just off my head. This is not a book review, this is just an essay of just some thoughts that I've been having, especially after the last 3 video essays, which are kind of leading into this direction as well. So yeah, the first thing I wanted to talk about is this drive for positive, but not necessarily the drive for positive, but just the drive to prevent negative at all cost. It's something that Byung-Chul Han already discussed, as I discussed in my previous video. But just as a short recap, society has been moving in this direction where we try and avoid the negative at all costs. We try and avoid anything that challenges our mindset, anything that makes us engage with something other than ourselves, not in a physical sense, but in a very challenging, in a very mental sense. We try and avoid it as best as we can. And I already discussed this in the previous video. This is all helped massively by social media, but it must be noted that social media is, of course, not the only thing that causes this. No, it's a decade-long tradition that has been waiting to just kind of spark into what it is right now. There are many examples of how this avoiding of the negative and avoiding of anything challenging is making us lose depth. So one area where one can find this avoiding of the negative is in logo simplification. We're all familiar with the simplification of logos. I mean, even the simplest companies such as Burger King, McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, they all went through these drastic changes to just make their logo simpler, to just make it easier and to be less challenging in essence. Take for example the logo of the company Firefox. I'll pull it up right now. We used to have this beautiful logo which actually made sense, right? Of a globe with a fox around it. I mean, it encapsulated what the brand was about. But nowadays people have already transcended this. We know the brands. We don't need a logo that explains us what the brand is. We don't need a logo that builds familiarity. We need a logo that doesn't challenge us. We needed something to be simple, and we need something that helps us to avoid negative. Now, in a very literal sense, this means round edges, smooth colors. And I feel like the Firefox transition is a perfect example of this. We have this beautiful, well, I don't know if you'd call it beautiful, but we have this globe and a fox with its clear, distinct outlines, and it's transformed into this blurry mush as if somebody licked their finger and smudged it off. Another example is probably one of the worst companies out there for plenty of reasons, McDonald's. If we take a look at the old logos, we can see how it started. It used to be a restaurant, a fast food chain, whatever, but something that was built exclusively around hamburgers, and its logo encapsulated that. Now, later this logo transcended into the golden arch of the M, but it still said McDonald's, and now we've lost anything that challenges us, and we just have the big M. It's as if logos have started to become their own alphabet, into just becoming these indistinguishable minimalist symbols essentially, and the logos don't even encapsulate what the company is about anymore. It's just a symbol smudge or a golden arch, a letter M. But we are so indoctrinated by corporations, by logos, that we already know and understand what these logos are about. But that's enough for another video. So definitely subscribe if you want to see that one. What I wanted to talk about right now is that these simplifications, they are so attractive and they work so well, partly also because they don't challenge us. They don't have any weird arches. They use a minimal amount of color and in essence are just as simple as possible. But enough said about the simplification of logos. But these logos do still keep some of their bright colors. Something that you cannot say when you walk through the street. No, if you walk through the streets nowadays, you will see, or you will be able to notice its lack of color. Especially if you compare it with pictures of what it used to be like in the past. In the past, cars were made as something beautiful, as something that you would look at and you would think, that's something that appeals to me, whether for good or for worse. But at least they still had a lot of bright colors, right? You could walk along the streets and the cars would actually stand out. They would, at some level, challenge you. Nowadays, it seems like cars are made, or at least the normal priced cars, are made to just look as basic as possible. Especially when you look at the colors they're using. It seems like they're choosing the colors based on how little it will raise attention. And this isn't just something that concerns cars alone either. No, this is something that affects the entire cityscape. When you walk through cities, or at least newly built cities, you will be a lot less challenged. Everything is built to look the same. Everything is built to attract the least amount of attention. Or at least that's what it seems like. And this isn't just something that I've noticed and started paying attention to and then started gathering my own evidence to prove it. No, this is something that other people than me have noticed and have started actually looking into. And when we look at this graph over here, we can see how the use of colors has just been limited down to these darker colors, these unattractive, but most importantly, unnoticeable colors. And this is mostly concerning cars, but also other parts of the cityscape, as said before. But the cityscape is affected in a lot more ways other than just colors. No, the avoidance of negativity is present in the lack of colors, but also in more. Another example can be seen in architecture. In architecture, you can find similar traces of avoiding the negativity, especially in newly built buildings. For example, the intense use of concrete and glass to just build all basic new buildings. And I'm not talking about highlights. Take, for example, the New World Trade Center or other famous postmodern architectural buildings, because these in ways are still very challenging. They kind of make you feel a certain way and are built to catch your eyes. However, it can still be argued also for these buildings that they're very, very poor. Yes, they challenge you with grand shapes, but they're not really challenging you into thinking about it. No, when you see a skyscraper, you don't really think about its architectural structure anything other than, Jesus, that's tall. Something that I hear every day about my height. Even in commonly built buildings, many of them are built to look the same, and many of them aren't challenging you anyway. And I'm not saying that every single building should be made specifically to challenge you, or that we should return to any Renaissance-inspired architectural style, even though that would be very nice. No, it's just that we should start building buildings that are actually something to be proud of, something that challenges you, even if you're not aware of it, something that you can think something about, other than, yes, that's glass, yes, that's concrete, and yes, it's quite tall. No, we need something more challenging than that, something that seeks negativity and not something that is just a positive blob of shapes, smooth shapes that doesn't challenge anything within you. And this lack of negativity or lack of otherness isn't something that is just present in our physical lives. No, there's one gadget or at least one invention that has actually helped move it into a whole nother dimension. And you can probably already guess it. It's our phones. Our phones have created a superficial world, something that resembles our world but isn't really it. The clearest way of looking at this is, for example, the ability of your phone to take pictures. Now, I don't have to explain to anyone that seeing a picture of a beach is nowhere similar to the experience of being on the beach, right? We all know that we can look at as many pictures of a beach, a tropical island, a tropical rainforest, or a barbecue with friends, but we'll all know that the experience of looking at that picture will not come close to what it's like to actually be on a beach, to actually be in a tropical rainforest, or to actually be at a barbecue with friends. Not that you would know how that feels like, because you don't have any friends. But I'm just saying that experience is something completely different, something that you cannot at all encapsulate in a simple picture. There's a lot of theories about this, and there's plenty of other thinkers, many of them smarter than me, who have written about these things. There's Walter Benjamin. But this superficiality, that's a word, but the superficialness, let's go with that one. The superficialness that is shown by the pictures not resembling experience or not even coming close to actual experience goes for everything else as well, right? We talk about social media as if it's some thing that keeps us in contact with each other, or when I send a text message to my mom, that it feels like actually speaking to my mom. And in that comparison, I hope most of you would already feel like, well, that's not at all the same thing. And that's exactly my point, right? Talking to my mom is something completely different than texting with my mom. And that's exactly the superficiality of the phone. It's this invisible universe that we've created where we have started doing the majority of our social contacts, and many of us spend huge amounts of our time in this invisible universe that we've made ourselves. And it's precisely this, and it's precisely the fact that we spend so much time in this, that many of us feel alienated. We feel like we're not connected with the outside world. We feel lost. We feel alone. I mean, depression has been rising for the last decade, and you don't even have to get started on how this invisible universe is pushing us and shaping our thoughts and pushing us into certain directions. And if you do want to hear about that I recommend checking out my videos on Byung-Chul Han. In short, we are demystifying our world, and our world through this is becoming more and more superficial. So yeah, in conclusion, I just feel like we're losing ourselves and we're alienating ourselves in these constructs that we've created for ourselves. And don't worry, the blame is not at all just at us, right? It's also corporations and the trend of advertising that is pushing this so much further, and is in many ways also stressing us on very high levels, and it's creating a lot of tension. People just feel a lack of representation in this world that social media has created for us, and they're completely right to feel this way, because as mentioned before, the world is becoming something a lot more superficial, especially through our phones, but also through the lack of colors in cars or the logo simplification. These simple things, they steer our attention away from anything that's other, from anything that's negative. So what should we do about it? Well, that's where the bad news comes in. There is not much we can do. Corporations make many of the decisions, but something that is in our hand is a very easy solution, and something that might be very drastic and very challenging for some of you, and that's this. Go outside and touch some grass. That's it. It sounds very easy, and in essence it is. Just see and know that there's more to life, especially than this digital world, but also challenge yourself, as I've mentioned in the other videos as well. Challenge your thought, don't take anything for granted, and always ask questions. That's my advice for now. Important to know, these were all my opinions formed by many different authors. As with any other opinion, it is there to be changed. I encourage any discussion. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments, but please, of course, keep it respectful. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to watch my other videos. Stay tuned for the next couple of videos. I have a very exciting project coming up, and which I hope will be successful, but I won't spoil too much about that yet. You'll have to stay tuned for that, so make sure to subscribe and like this video if you want to see more. And I'm gonna try and upload every single Friday, which I've been able to do up until now. So see you guys next Friday.